And we are back with some more St. Louis Blues historical challenge in the year 1968. And in this one, we have the offseason of year number 1 heading into year number 2. Now, I took a look at free agency, and who is there but Jacques Plante, 39 years of age, injured for personal reasons. Yeah, personal reasons, 1 to 2 months left. So he should be back by the time the season starts. It's not like there's a salary cap. And if one of our goaltenders gets injured, then it would be nice to have Martin to call up as a third stringer. Even so, our goaltenders would all be 35 plus, so we have to keep that in mind. Well, I mean, it's not like this GMO is going to go on too long anyway. It's only 2 more years maximum, so with that in mind, I figure we may as well go for Blount. Could also use one of them as a trading asset if it comes down to it, because at the moment, we are really not looking pretty in terms of forwards or defense. Really, our only strength's in goal, and you all saw how abysmal free agency is for basically every other position. And then as far as the draft goes, there's not really anyone who's NHL ready, so we might have to rely on a trade here, unfortunately, to improve our roster for this season beyond just Blount. All right, draft time. So we have the 2nd overall pick and the 14th overall pick, and that is it, because there's only a 2-round draft in a 12-team league, so only 24 picks total. Got to make both of our picks count here. So we will simulate up to the 2nd overall pick. John Marks goes to the LA Kings, 1st overall. Half-star ability, 3.5-star potential. I'm not seeing any defenseman here. The first defenseman, in fact, is Mike Robitaille, who is a 2-star potential. Yeah, literally everybody else is either a forward or Chico Resch, who is the goaltender. Kurt Bennett, none of his teammates have anything good to say about him. Okay, so passing on him. None of his teammates have anything good to say about Pinder. Okay, passing on him as well. None of his teammates have anything good to say about Morrison. Okay, nothing on Hammerstrom. Forbes, his game has a dirty side to it. That's all for his personality. None of Heatley's teammates have anything good to say about him. None of Dupera's teammates have anything good to say about him. Nothing on Katola. None of his teammates have anything good to say about G. Oh man. Morrison, the same thing. No information on Soderstrom. Average personality from Moffat. I mean, that's the best personality we've seen so far, to be honest. Same thing for Liddington, Marchenko. None of his teammates have anything good to say about him. Oh man, Fontaine, the same thing. Robitaille, pretty middle of the road guy. I mean, that's again one of the better personalities we've seen. Not the sharpest tool in the shed, and really reacts well when things don't go his way. Oh man, this is like, I can't find any personalities that I like. Like everyone's either just bland or just the worst person you ever known, seemingly. Oh man. Yeah, this is great. Every player has these more or less the same personality. I mean, we don't technically need a goaltender, just given the fact that we have, well, assuming that Plante signs, we'll have 3 goaltenders who are NHL capable, and 2 of them are really good. But if we were to continue this GM mode further than, 2 more years, Glenn Resch would certainly be the realistic pick here. And it's not like anybody else is going to be that impactful in the next 2 years either. So we may as well just choose Glenn Resch here. And honestly, there's really nothing that I like about anybody else because their personalities are just all, for some reason, god-awful. So I might honestly just trade our 1st round pick, maybe even our 2nd, and see what we can get, because I feel like that would just be a better use of assets at this point. And generally, picks, from what I notice anyway, computers tend to value picks a lot more than players. Or at least that's the case when they're the ones trading them. So let's see, who's after us? Toronto and Montreal and Oakland. All right, I'm going to see if any of those teams would be willing to trade one of their better players. Oh, apparently Stewart and Hampson are still under our control as free agents. So are they not actually free agents then? Or are they just, yeah, they're still within our system here. Okay, so JC Tremblay on Montreal is on the trade block. I wonder, what's his personality like? We've seen the same personality over and over again, so at this point, I mean, it's not the worst personality. It's definitely not good, but still, it might be our best option. All right, here's what we'll do. We got Don Cayley, a 1st for this year, our 2nd for this year, and a 1st for 2 years from now when the challenge is already over anyway. And even that is top 10 protected, so that's technically going to be pushed back to 1971, essentially, unless we win the cup or get to the finals, because I think that's the only situation which we would be outside the top 10. And all that in exchange for JC Tremblay of the Montreal Canadiens, a 4-star ability defenseman, scored 45 points last year in 55 games played, and Montreal's 1st round pick for this year. So given the fact that Tremblay is on the trade block, I'd say this is pretty fair value here. Offer trade, finalized. There it is. So we finally got ourselves a pretty good defenseman in Tremblay. Not a fan of his personality, but it might just have to do. Because we desperately need to get some more talent on this team. All right, since it's pretty clear that the draft is not going to be that much of a help, if at all, in this GM mode, I'm just going away and trading all my picks now. So I'm going to be trading the rights to Baudin, a second for 1970, which again, GM mode's going to be over by then, and a first for this year from Montreal that we just acquired. And here's a look at Baudin, nothing too special. And here's a look at who we are acquiring. Ray Cullen, 3.5-star ability center at 26 years of age. I mean, at this point, I'm not surprised with the personality, but we're just gonna have to settle and hope that the talent can take us where we want to go. And we're going to offer this trade, finalize. So we're gradually building up our pool of talent with all of those trades. So I think I want to make one more trade here. I'm not sure with who, but I know we need some more help here at forward. Because if you look at our roster, it's still not great, even with the acquisition of Cullen. And I know we're probably gonna have Stewart and Hampson signing on soon. But even with them, I think it's not going to be enough. We need a winger. We need a winger for sure, besides just Stanfield. And here's what is likely our last trade of the draft. You have Pat Quinn and our first for 1969 in exchange for Johnny McKenzie, 30 years of age, 3.5-star ability winger, pretty good offensively, very good mentally. He had 42 points last year. Personality, once again, not the greatest, but it's going to have to do. So offer trade, finalize. So all things considered, once we get Stewart and Hampson and Keenan back on board, I think we should, at the very least, be in a much better position for next year than we were this past year. I mean, that should be a given, considering that we didn't make the playoffs, so that's not exactly too hard to achieve there. But nonetheless, I think we are essentially done with the offseason here, as we do not have a pick in the draft. And there you go, Jacques Plante has signed with your St. Louis Blues, and as has Ron Stewart, Keenan, and Hampson. Got a roster together. Now we need to actually work on making the playoffs. So with that, let's get right to the start of season number 2. So we have multiple players that are listed twice. You have Ray Cullen twice, Gary Swain twice, and Terry Crisp twice as well. That's the first time I've seen that. Let's see. Oh dear, this team harmony is absolutely brutal. What in the world is happening? I don't know how all this happened, to be honest. It was fine last time I checked, and now all of a sudden is just seemingly out of control. And just in time for the preseason as well. Great timing. Yeah, this is great. This is fantastic. Okay, this click is getting out of control. Team harmony is just absolutely terrible right now. I think I might have to replace Sebastien Dubois. He's got that player management at 1. I can't imagine that's not playing a part in this. All right, so we got ourselves Toe Blake, who's got some really good ratings in there. And honestly, I'm considering making him our head coach as opposed to Scotty Bowman. If it weren't for his tactics at 11, I would. So for right now, I'm going to change Parkinson to our defensive coach. And then I'll make Toe Blake our offensive coach. Ooh, okay. Arnold Mello. Yeah, I kind of like him. I mean, his coaching goalies and defense aren't great, but I'm pretty sure that's just for developing players. What really matters here is the tactics at 19. And then the player management, motivation, and discipline aren't bad either. Hire Arnold Mello as the head coach. There you go. So we got some new coaches in there. We got a lot of new players. I don't see any reason why this team shouldn't at least be competitive this year. Well, then again, there is the issue of the team harmony, but that's another thing entirely. So now that I think about it, I wonder how many other teams have disruptive hostility. So Toronto's acceptable. Disruptive hostility in Boston. Harmonious in Chicago. Harmonious in Detroit. Disruptive hostility in LA, harmonious in Minnesota, harmonious in Montreal, disruptive in New York, disruptive in Oakland, harmonious in Philadelphia, Pittsburgh is good, and we're disruptive. So like, it's 50-50, I would say. Half the teams have disruptive hostility and half of them are harmonious. Interesting. I would have thought that would have been worse, considering that a lot of teams seem to have players that have personalities that are not good for team harmony. Oh, did Stanfield just develop that personality trait or something? Yeah, I guess so. He didn't have that before. I know he didn't have that before. I wouldn't have traded for him if he did. All right, so I guess that's another trade we have to make here. Oh, man. Yep, Stanfield's got to go. He has to. I mean, I'm all for acquiring talented players, but there are certain personality traits that just are the worst. That is one of them. You absolutely cannot have that trait if you want good team harmony. If you do, I mean, you see what happens. Bobby Hull is the same way, apparently. I was just looking at Chicago for trade offers. Not that I was considering trading for Bobby Hull, he would be way too much, but still, none of his teammates have anything good to say about him. So I wonder, does Chicago, no, they're harmonious. It must have something to do with their assistant coaches then, right? With how their player management is. 7, 3, 2. Their head coach only has 7 player management. Yeah, that's weird. Like, why doesn't Chicago have that issue then? That's my question. Like, is it just the fact that he's a really talented player that maybe his teammates put up with him or something? Man, it's like every single player now that I'm looking at, like every player that I've looked at so far to try and trade for has this personality trait of none of his teammates seem to have anything good to say about him. That's pretty concerning. I'm not gonna lie. That's like, I can't find anybody. Nestorenko, let's see. I'm literally just clicking on random names and the same trait is popping up on everybody. Warham, it's the same deal. Everybody. Let's see, Detroit. What about Gordie Howe? Okay, at least it's not applicable to Gordie Howe. No, Gordie, you're okay. I was gonna try trading for him, but apparently he has a 10-team no trade clause in a 12-team league. So that's great. I guess he just doesn't want to go anywhere besides Detroit. That makes sense. Paul Henderson. Let's see. None of his teammates have anything good to say about him. Oh man, this is too much. Literally every player I'm clicking on. It's literally every player I'm clicking on. besides Gordie Howe. Yep, same thing for Russo. It's every single player, dude. How am I supposed to find a player to replace what's his name? Okay, it doesn't apply to LaRose, thankfully. I might just have to settle because I just cannot find anybody else. It seems like every player I'm clicking on has that exact same personality traits, and it's extremely frustrating, to be honest. All right, Stanfield, get on there. It's very likely they will accept. LaRose's personality isn't great either, but at least at the moment, it's better than Stanfield's, given that he causes team chemistry issues. So I'm going to try to get a draft pick on there if I can. Maybe a second. Yeah, okay. I could get a second round pick on there. So Stanfield for LaRose and a second offer trade. We'll see if it goes through. Montreal has accepted our offer of Fred Stanfield for Claude LaRose and a second round pick. There it is. So hopefully that'll mean the end of most of our team harmony issues. Yes, indeed. Okay. All right, good. Get all that out of here. Let's take a look at, just make sure. Oh man, Ron Schkock has the same deal. None of his teammates have anything good to say about him. I swear, at the start of this GM mode, I looked thoroughly through all of the personalities. None of these guys had any of these personality traits before. Harvey is the same thing. Oh man, Terry Crisp. Yep, none of his teammates have anything good to say about him. This is so bad. I might just have to cut this challenge short, to be honest. This is just getting out of control. Like I'm pretty sure I have seen more players with that personality traits than not. New click forms. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, at least we're regaining team harmony here, but 3 clicks now. Intervene. Let's try it. It's not looking good. All right, cool. Captain convinces LaRose to abandon the click. So it was formed by Claude LaRose, the guy who we just traded for. I wonder, does he... I just can't win. I can't win. I don't know what's going on here, but this is... this is not fun. This is not fair. He did not have that personality trait when I traded for him. I'm pretty sure he was fully scouted. I'm like 90% sure that he was fully scouted. Oh man, again, I might have to cut this challenge short. This is just like, it seems like every single player has that issue. Oh, are you kidding me? Click breaks up and then another one grows larger. All right, I mean, at least the overall harmony is getting better. So I'll continue going here, but I really don't like the fact that all these players have such terrible personalities. That's got to be a glitch. It has to be. That has to be a bug of some sort. There's no way that there should be that many players with just the worst personalities ever. Oh, are you kidding me? I just tried intervening a click and then it just formed so many. That's the first time I've seen that happen. That is the first time I've seen that happen. And now all of a sudden we have that many more conflicts. All because Johnny McKenzie tried to intervene as the captain and then everyone just hates him now all of a sudden. Oh, let's see. Johnny McKenzie, none of his teammates have anything good to say about. He did not have that personality trait when I made him the captain. He absolutely did not. Yeah, depending what happens this season, I might just have to abandon this challenge altogether because this is not like click grows larger. This is not reasonable. Oh my goodness, look at this. Look at this click. This is a joke. This is a joke. Do you see this? Everybody hates the captain apparently. Oh man. Like I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure what to do about this. Seems like every time I trade a player, only to acquire one back, and that player has the same exact personality trait. It's just like, how do I solve this? I mean, we're somehow in the playoffs right now. We're first in the Western Division, so I may as well just see what happens here, but my interest in continuing this historical challenge is pretty low right now, I gotta admit. So you know what? I'm just gonna skip through the rest of the regular season. Whatever happens, happens. All right, so we finished 31, 31, and 14. Much better than last season, and we finished first in the Western Division, which I believe is just the expansion team division, because you got St. Louis, Oakland, Pittsburgh, Minnesota, Philadelphia, and LA, and then these all are obviously the original 6. Let's just take a brief look at the stats. You got 55 points for Cullen and McKenzie, 54 Schock, 38 for Stewart and Tremblay, Keenan with 35, 34 for LaRose. Then goal, you have a 915 save percentage for Plant, and for Hall, you have a 901. And we still unfortunately have disruptive hostility. Let's see what happens if I try to intervene. It just gets worse. Because everybody hates Johnny McKenzie. Oh man. Yeah, this is great. Because it's not the team harmony itself that I'm put off by, because you could always fix that normally anyway. But in this save file, it seems like just every single player has the worst personality you've ever seen. So it's like it feels like no matter what I do, it's just gonna be the same situation, right? So we may as well just keep the talented players on board regardless of their personality traits, unfortunately. So game against Oakland, hey, there it is. Okay, so it appears we just needed to win a Stanley Cup playoff game, not one game in the Stanley Cup final. Because yeah, that's what the challenge says. It says win just one game in the Stanley Cup final, and yet we aren't in the Stanley Cup finals. This is the first round against the Oakland Seals, but we win the challenge anyway. Oh, all right, you know what? Good enough for me. That's good enough for me. New achievement. There you go. St. Louis, stop singing the blues. Win one game in the Stanley Cup final. The quote unquote Stanley Cup final, apparently. Oh man, you know what? We'll play this out to the end anyway. I just want to see what happens, because we did win that first game against Oakland, but I'll consider that a challenge complete. Because I really do not want to go another year in this. This is not an ideal situation with how bad most of the players' personality traits seem to be in this particular save file. And we win the series 4-2 against Oakland, so we are moving on to the next round, where we will face either Minnesota or Pittsburgh. Here we go. Semifinal matchup against Pittsburgh. And we win game number 4. We will be facing Montreal in the Stanley Cup Finals. All right. So I guess since this is the Stanley Cup Finals, let's go into it for real here. Sim game, we have a 2-1 win. So there you go. We officially completed the challenge now. We won a game in the Stanley Cup Finals. So with that, we have now officially completed the challenge of what the description of the challenge actually was. We win a 2-1 game against Montreal. Shots were 26-22 in favor of your St. Louis Blues. 3 stars of the game: Arbor, Grant, and O'Ree. Here's game number 2. We have a 5-4 Montreal win. Okay, so you had to expect them to put up some sort of fight here. Shot to 37-24 in favor of Montreal. 3 stars of the game: Russo, Hampson, and Richard. Game number 3 will be a 3-1 St. Louis victory. There you go. Shots with 30-21 in favor of Montreal, but the victory goes to your St. Louis Blues. 3 stars of the game: Cullen, Kernoyer, and Keenan. Here we go. Game number 4 will be a 5-2 Montreal victory. Shots of 25-20 in favor of Montreal. 3 stars of the game: Stanfield, our former player, with 4 assists, Richard, and Russo. Oh my goodness. Everybody hates McKenzie. It's basically the whole team. Here we go. Game number 5. That'll be a 5-2 Montreal victory. Shots of 28-20 in favor of Montreal. 3 stars of the game: Ferguson, Provost, and Vadnais. Here we go. Decisive game 6. Can we force it to 7? Come on, St. Louis. There's Bobby Russo with the goal. Not a great start. Come on, St. Louis. There it is. Ray Cullen from Keenan and McKenzie. Second period underway. Oh, the Henry Richard, the goal. And heading into the third period. Come on, St. Louis. Give me one. Give me one. Ah, that's unfortunate. So we didn't win the Stanley Cup, but we did complete the challenge nonetheless. So, and again, considering the circumstances, that is good enough for me. And the next one, I'm not sure if the next one's going to be a historical challenge, to be honest, because the more I've been playing these historical challenges lately, the more problems I start to see with them. And when it gets to this point, like this was pretty bad, all in all. And when it's to the point where it seems like the whole league, almost the whole league, has the exact same terrible personality, it's just like it takes you out of it so much, as I have already expressed earlier in this video. So I wouldn't be surprised if the next one was just a modern GM mode, to be honest. I'm definitely ready for a break from them, that's for sure. Anyway, that's enough ranting. I will see you guys in the next one.